Good evening and welcome to NTV's Grow, coming to you this week from an area hit hard by storms. More on that in just a moment. Plus, we launch our Photo of the Week contest. But we start with Japan, and that billion-dollar beef market gone bust booms again, thanks in part to the work of some Nebraska farmers.
Since Japanese people don't know about real steak.
Cameras in hand, bloggers rush to see a real American steak sizzle. Their images reached hundreds of thousands, telling Japanese moms the benefits of Nebraska's corn-fed beef.
Less expensive than the Wagyu beef and better tasting than the Australian grass-fed beef.
Japanese consumers are rediscovering American beef a decade after a scare from BSE, often called by what farmers see as the misleading name, mad cow disease.
We had one case in 2003.
Nebraska farmers who recently visited Japan believe the country capitalized on fear to shut American beef out of the market.
It was then a political bargaining chip and something that we could hold for some trade negotiations and political negotiations.
In January, Japan agreed to allow beef from animals under 30 months of age. Now, 95% of American beef meets that standard, and box after box arrives daily.
Exponential is probably not the right term, but we are really going to be pushing hard to get back to where we were.
U.S. beef sales to Japan could top $1 billion this year. That's why the Nebraska Corn Board joined the U.S. Meat Export Federation. As farmers like Tim Shear explain, the corn they grow feeds cattle, then end up on the grill in Japan.
You know, I think one of the most important things that we told them when we were there is this is the same product that we feed our families.
Nebraska farmers tell Congress to pass a farm bill or risk undoing positive gains. The Nebraska Corn Board credits Nebraska's congressional delegation, but they want to step up the pressure on those like House Speaker John Boehner. Farmers say they're willing to make billions in concessions.
Farmers have asked to get rid of direct payments. That's really one of the biggest things that farmers in the Midwest have said, that we don't need them. We understand why taxpayers don't want to pay them. And so we're looking at programs that are fiscally responsible. And obviously the crop insurance program is one of those things. It only pays farmers that need to be paid.
Leaders of the Corn Board say they won't settle for another extension, but worry it'll come to that with only 9 days after the August recess to act in time to get the bill to the U.S. Senate. More on this later in the Grow interview. So we want to hear from you. How optimistic are you that a new farm bill will pass soon after the August recess? Very optimistic, somewhat, or pretty doubtful? Log on and vote at nebraska.tv. Egg Processing Incorporated announces plans for a major expansion in Hastings. AGP plans a soybean plant to go online by the fall of 2016. Earlier this year, AGP closed the corn processing plant in Hastings due to ongoing economic challenges in the ethanol industry. However, officials say the new soybean plant will utilize significant parts of the former corn processing plants. Hail and disease have left some farmers in south central Nebraska feeling numb about prospects for the future. The University of Nebraska hosted a town hall meeting in Clay Center this week asking, where do we go from here? Issues range from southern rust to extensive hail damage, even concerns about feeding moldy grain.
You can see the hail damage on them. If you would split these open, you would see stalk rot setting in. And then what we're noticing on these ears here is, depending on the direction of the hail, one side of the ear looks pretty good, and then you turn it over and wherever the hail damage occurred, we have mold showing up.
Clay County has been hard hit this year. Tornadoes, hail, straight line winds. Yet farmers say things had been looking pretty good with the crop until now.
We've got so much invested in the crop now. Finishing it up is all that was left to do. Pump some more water on it was all that was left. And so that makes it really hard. You've already got your expense into it and now it's gone.
For storm-damaged fields, cover crops may be an option to at least get some production. Last week's rain and below normal temperatures combined to raise the soil moisture across much of Nebraska. The USDA says 30% of Nebraska's subsoil had adequate moisture last week compared with 24% the week before. About 85% of irrigated corn in the state was in good or excellent condition. However, dryland corn is only 43% good or excellent, much lower than the 64% average. And officials in Kansas say the recent widespread rain is helping pastures as well as crops. But the Agricultural Statistics Service also said Subsoil moisture supplies remained short to very short in 48% of Kansas, despite the downpours, mostly in eastern and central sections. 29% of the corn crop is still rated poor, with only 38% rated good or excellent. Invasive species threaten the Republican River as unwanted plants could take over things.
Every group that's got an interest in the river is very happy with what's happened. This is a piece of legislation that's truly a win-win deal.
Senator Tom Carlson, District 38, referring to the bill passed in 2007. Carlson, along with other officials and locals, gathered for the two-day Republican River Management Workshop, where water conservation was the main focus.
Invasive vegetation, that's negative. And if we stop the water use on that, we've got it to use on good things, growing crops, and for the other purposes of the river, for recreation and fishing and habitat and so forth. So we turn a negative into a positive.
While much has been done and continues to be done along the river, there are still major areas of concerns being addressed, and getting locals familiar with those areas are key.
Phragmites is one of the biggest problems along the river. Also, salt cedar is another one that we've done a lot of work on. But Phragmites is the one that has come in, again, because of no longer flooding along the river like they used to be back in the 1930s.
Turnout for the workshop was encouraging and gathered a better understanding for the work being done.
You can be told that something has occurred on the river and it's different than it used to be. And of course, the picture from this spot that showed how choked up the stream bed was in 2007, and now it's just totally clear. A picture's worth 1,000 words, but when they can come right out and see it, I think it's helpful to understand the importance of what we're doing.
A familiar voice is back on local airwaves, and farmers couldn't be happier to hear him. NTV's Alyssa Willard has more.
Good morning. This is the KRVN Weather Watch. Dave Thurrell with this hour's weather.
He's a man whose voice has been heard over the airwaves of KRVN for decades, and after several weeks away, Dave Thurrell is back on air and feeling better while doing it.
I was feeling tired, just really tired. I was really anemic by the end of May, and I went to the doctor and they did some checking and kept checking, and finally on the 19th of June I was told that I have a rare form of chronic leukemia.
Thurrell, who has been a beloved voice, especially in the ag community, couldn't keep the curious at bay for long.
We hadn't told people really what it was. The first week I was gone, we said vacation. The second week, well, he's still on. People were getting suspicious, so I came in on June 20th, told them what was up.
Outpour of love and support has been flooding in by the hundreds ever since.
It's hard for me to fathom. I am just a regular person. I've been on the air a long time, but it's like people have gotten used to me, and they enjoy what I do, and I'm glad they do, because if they didn't, I'd have to get a real job.
And it's those honest reflections that make the community happy to see him back.
He's always makes life interesting on the radio. He makes us laugh at his funny, corny jokes, and he shares his life with all of us on the radio. So I think everyone, even if you don't know him personally, I think all the listeners of KRVN think of him as a friend because they seem to know him very well.
And although pills, shots, and fatigue are now a part of his daily routine, he still feels that there's a purpose for all of it.
If you're someone out there that is enjoying good health, be sure you thank God for it, because you just never know what can happen. I don't like going through this, but if this is something that I can encourage others, I'm willing to go through it.
The Nebraska State Fair announces the premiere of the Heartland High School Rodeo. The high school rodeo will take place on Labor Day in the open-air arena in the State Fair's East Entertainment area. It'll feature steer wrestling, saddle broncs, team roping, bull riding, and more. Organizers say the high school rodeo is exactly what the fair is about, showcasing youth livestock activities in Nebraska. Cattle class is in session, and Senator Mike Johans is among the presenters. Ranchers can tour a University of Nebraska lab in the Sandhills later this month. The August 21st event will focus on drought, grazing, and cattle markets. Senator Johans will be joined by Ronnie Green, head of ag programs at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Coming up next, more of our interview with the chairman of the Nebraska Corn Board, his thoughts on the Farm Bill.